Hello and welcome to Rock Music History Lesson. I'm KW Key. Today, a group who's had hits like A Horse with No Name, Ventura Highway, and Sister Golden Hair. America, Part 2 of 2 on Rock Music History Lesson. In the 70s, America was recording and releasing at least one album a year. Each of the three original band members wrote songs and sang lead vocals. By the way, George Martin is credited with producing 5 of their studio albums, remixing their greatest hits, and producing a live album. Martin produced their next album, Hearts, released in March 1975. America scored its second #1 single with Sister Golden Hair in April of 1975. The song featured an opening guitar riff inspired by George Harrison's 12-string acoustic and the slide guitar on My Sweet Lord. Beckley's Daisy Jane was the follow-up single, entering the top 20 towards the end of the year. Peak's Woman Tonight was the third single, making it to number 44. In December 1975, Martin called the hits from the group's first 3 albums and produced History, America's Greatest Hits, which eventually sold over 5 million copies. Comedian Phil Hartman of Saturday Night Live fame did the artwork for the History album. And you're probably wondering what was the connection. Their connection with Hartman was that his brother John was the band's manager. The band says that even then, Hartman was very funny. Sadly, Hartman was shot and killed in his sleep on May 28, 1998, by his wife, Bren. It was time for the 6th album, which was recorded in April of 1976 at Caribou Ranch near Nederland, Colorado, inspiring the title Hideaway. 2 singles, Today's the Day and Amber Cascades, were released, reaching number 23 and number 75 on the Billboard charts. Martin's implementation of more complex instrumentation made it tougher to perform on stage, and the band would often switch instruments during songs. Martin, Bunnell, Beckley, and Peak went to Hawaii during late 1976 to work on the 7th studio album. In February 1977, Harbor was released. But the group's declining sales continued. While the album did crack the top 30, it was their first LP that didn't go platinum or gold, and all 3 singles failed to chart. To add insult to injury, Dan Peek left the band in May of 1977 to pursue a solo career. Dan had become a born-again Christian and wanted to turn his life around after years of abusing drugs and alcohol. Meanwhile, Jerry Beckley and Dewey Bunnell continued as America. They ended their contract with Warner Brothers with the release of their first concert LP, Live, in October 1977, and then moved to Capitol. The album was recorded at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles and featured a backing orchestra conducted by Elmer Bernstein. The concert was recorded not long after Peak left the group. Live didn't even break into the top 100. In March of 1979, Beckley and Bunnell recorded a cover of the Mamas and Papas' California Dreaming from the movie of the same name. Although the movie didn't do well at the box office and the soundtrack was issued by an unknown label, the single reached number 56 on the charts. Their first album for Capitol was Silent Letter, released in 1979, followed by 1980's Alibi, which included players like Timothy B. Smith from the Eagles, Leland Sklar, a session musician who played on numerous recordings with artists like Jackson Browne, James Taylor, and Steve Lukather of Toto. Russ Ballard, the former lead singer for the group Argent, produced the album and wrote their next hit single, You Can Do Magic, which reached number 8 on the charts. This was the band's first major success in 7 years. Having had success with Ballard on View from the Ground, he produced the band's next album, Your Move, in 1983, which resulted in the last charting single for America, The Border. For their 12th studio album, Perspective, they opted for a different style compared to previous albums. Ballard was out, and synthesizers and drum machines were in. They brought in Richie Zito as producer. Zito has produced 38 charting singles and worked with Elton John, Cher, and many others. This new style didn't work. There were no commercial singles, and the album made the charts for only 3 weeks, peaking at number 185. In July 1985, America ended their contract with Capitol Records with In Concert. Dan Peek released his first solo album in 1979, All Things Are Possible, with Jerry Beckley and Dewey Bunnell on background vocals. This would be the last time the three of them recorded together. He re-emerged in 1984 after several years of obscurity and released his second solo album, Doer of the Word, with Jerry Beckley on background vocals once again. 2 years later, he released Electro Voice, which contained a remix of the America hit Lonely People with a slight change to the lyrics to make it more Christian-friendly. In 1987, Peek released another solo album, Crossover, before going into semi-retirement. Since Peek was a young boy, he suffered from rheumatoid arthritis and was hospitalized for weeks at a time. Because the Ronald McDonald Houses provide housing for families of hospitalized children around the United States and the world, Peek wanted to help. He decided to dispose of 5 of his vintage guitars. In 2010, they were auctioned off and sold to a collector, resulting in a $50,000 donation. Sadly, Dan Peek died a year later in his sleep on July 24, 2011, at the age of 60. Rumors of a reunion with America never materialized. Throughout the late 80s through the 2000s, the surviving members of America remained active and very popular, touring and playing concerts in the United States and all over the world about 100 days each year. America have been together since 1970 and have released around 20 albums. If you include the greatest hits packages and live packages, the number goes to around 30. Thanks for watching Rock Music History Lesson. I'm KW Key. If you're interested in any of the music we mentioned, click the link below this video. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Rock Music History Lesson is a KW production.